Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are reading from the book Meditation and Spiritual Life by Swami Yatiswarananda. We are on chapter 16, Love of God, and the section we're starting is Don't Be Religious Fanatics. In the West, we come across a number of people who want to meditate on the Absolute. It is difficult to convince them of the need for divine forms as stepping stones to meditation on the formless. What has actually happened in their case is this: they do not feel attracted to the divine personality that has been thrust upon all without distinction. If they are asked to meditate on some other divine personality who appeals to their temperament, they are willing to meditate on him, and this will definitely help them in making spiritual progress. But this meditation on a divine personality should not make us fanatics. We should have the breadth of vision to understand that all holy personalities are special manifestations of the Supreme Spirit. Most of our religious or dogmatic quarrels are due to our partial visions of the truth. We only rise to a certain plane, look at the truth from that plane, and begin to quarrel with others who too have had only partial visions different from ours. We forget that what we know is only one of the several aspects of the truth. Partial visions are true on certain planes of consciousness, but they are not the whole truth. Only by rising to the Absolute can we realize the truth as it is, and then assign to each partial vision its proper place. In India, this principle was recognized even in the earliest ages, and there has not been much of religious persecution and sectarian bigotry in this country. In India, the mistake of standardizing spiritual life and proclaiming only one incarnation as the true one was not committed. Theological narrow-mindedness has been the cause of spiritual death in the West. When we worship Christ, we come to have Christ consciousness. When we worship Krishna, we come to have Krishna consciousness. When we worship Sri Ramakrishna, we come to have Ramakrishna consciousness. And each can lead us to the Absolute consciousness, for all these great ones have realized their identity with the Absolute. Each incarnation acts as a door, as it were, to the Absolute. If the Christ personality does not appeal to me, I cannot profit by worshipping Christ, and my whole spiritual life will become a failure. I must follow that great one. I must follow that great one who suits my bent of mind, who satisfies my ideal. The man who should follow Christ should not be told to worship Buddha or Krishna, for then his spiritual life will be a failure. Religious fanatics generally do not realize this important truth. Themselves blind, they want to keep others also blind. The great incarnations and prophets of world religions are all expressions of the same divine principle. There is not just one savior for all. To force one savior on all is a most pernicious idea. Fanaticism is not restricted to worships of incarnations alone. Even Advaitins can become fanatic. To proclaim to everyone that gods, goddesses, and incarnations are all illusory, being products of Maya, is the height of foolishness. Even the Advaitins must realize the divine immanence in all creation. For many people, Saguna Brahman is as important as Nirguna Brahman. The way to the transcendental Absolute lies through the immanent. First, we must realize the divine within ourselves, then in others, And finally, transcending all names and forms, we should realize the one without a second. We should always remember that names, forms, attributes, etc. are all unreal, only for a person who has reached the Absolute, not for others. In the all-comprehensive conception of Sri Ramakrishna, the infinite spirit, which is beyond all names and forms, manifests itself as all souls, as Ishvara, the ruler of all souls and the universe. He again manifests himself as the gods and goddesses. He also manifests himself as the divine incarnation. The infinite is beyond the grasp of the mind. Avang manasa gocharam. Avang manasa gocharam. And in order to realize that, the aspirant should begin with the world of manifestation, should take up some holy form and holy name. The holy form is a special manifestation of the Supreme Spirit. It gradually takes us to that. The holy name too is a special manifestation of the infinite spirit. Just as the form takes us to the formless, the name takes us to the nameless. The trouble with us ordinary spiritual seekers is that we cling to our own individual form, maybe a man's form or a woman's form, and attach ourselves to a holy form, that of a male deity or a female deity. And we are not prepared to move from this comfortable position. Unless we are first of all dislodged from the materialistic conception of ourselves and of God, we cannot make any progress in the real sense of the term. I don't say it is bad to think that you are a devotee and worship a male or a female God. It is indeed very good and necessary, but don't think that it is the highest stage. Although we cannot in our present stage meditate on the infinite spirit, we can at least do some bhavana or imagination. We usually think that our own form is absolutely real, our personality is absolutely real. Let us first of all think that we are all souls distinct from the body and mind. Let us visualize our soul as a point of light, which is a part of the infinite light of God. Strongly visualize an ocean of light standing at the back of yourself and supporting it. Merge your body and mind in it. Let us at least have this bhavana to undermine the materialism of the type of worship that we usually follow. At the beginning of our spiritual practice, it is always good for us to remember that we are souls. Each soul has put on a mental body and a physical body to play a part in the drama of life. The drama of life is to be played well. Let us not think that the drama of life means only the worldly life. It is also the drama that has to be played in the world of thought, in the world of the spirit. Next section, love for the personal, impersonal. Each one of us has raised a thought world around himself, and this limits our vision. How has my form arisen? How did my individuality originate? If we think in this way, we find our quote-unquote I tending to disappear into the formless reality. When we study the lives of the great incarnations, we find that they all had realized their identity with the Supreme Spirit. When we come in touch with their consciousness, we too are freed from our limitations. The bonds of our limited existence burst, and we too experience cosmic consciousness. We are like bubbles, but the great incarnations are mountain-high waves, always conscious of their true nature, always in dynamic contact with the ocean. Ours is impure, limited consciousness. Theirs is pure, unlimited consciousness. The personality can be merged in the principle, but the whole principle can never be identified with the personality. Behind the divine personality and our limited ego, there stands the indivisible Satchitananda. Through the intensity of our feeling, we can each give a stimulus to the cosmic mind that has a radiant divine form arises out of it. Or if the form does not arise, we feel its presence. If you throw a stone, just a minute, there's an interruption, sorry. If you throw a stone into a lake, you see the reaction in the form of ripples, but you do not create the lake for all that. The water always exists. The stone only gives the stimulus to raise a wave. In the same way, the cosmic consciousness always exists. When you pray intensely, it acts as a stimulus and a divine form arises out of the formless. But there must be intensity of love. Intensity is one of the principal factors in the life of an aspirant. It is the intense soul hunger that produces the divine response. This is true bhakti. As the aspirant advances in spiritual life, he finds that the form that arises out of the formless merges back into it. Love for the personal God then changes into love for the impersonal absolute. The true devotee sees everything in proper light. He knows that the form and the formless, the personal and the impersonal, are but two aspects of the same ultimate reality. Having risen above the clutches of the worldly attachments, his whole mind and heart are given to the contemplation of God. He loves God in all his various manifestations. There are no limitations to his love. That's the end of chapter 16, which is love of God. We will now start on chapter 17, self-surrender. First section, divine strength. Spiritual life is meant only for the strong. However, by strength, we mean not only physical strength, but also mental strength and spiritual strength. By the exercise of willpower and practice of austerity, one gains tremendous inner strength. But apart from all these, there is another strength, the strength of the divine. The true devotee feels that he is under the protecting care of the ultimate divine, and he feels infinite strength. Surdas, one of the great North Indian saints of the Middle Ages, sang, "By the grace of the divine youth of Vrindavan, I have understood that Rama is the strength of the weak." Self-surrender to the divine is in itself a mighty form of sadhana. It is not as easy as people think. What people generally can do is to pray to God and depend on Him at different times of the day and offer their body, mind and soul at the feet of the Ishtadevata repeatedly. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, "The Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, and by his Maya causes them to turn round and round as though mounted on a machine, just as a puppet player moves the puppets. Take refuge in him with all thy heart. By his grace thou shalt thou attain supreme peace and the eternal abode. Thus has the profoundest wisdom been declared to thee by me. Reflect over it fully and act as if you like, and act as you like." So this is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, shloka 61 to 63. We will chant them. Ishvaras sarvabhutanam hriddeshorjuna tishthati Bhramayan sarvabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata Tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam Iti te jnanamakhyatang guhyad guhyataram maya Vimrushyaitada yathechasi tatha kuru. Those were the verses, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, 61 to 63. When we draw ourselves away from Him, we become more egocentric and fall from the higher path. Instead of taking our stand on the ego, let us surrender to the divine and make him the center of our consciousness. And then ethical and spiritual life become easy. We should practice prayer, intense prayer, when lower tendencies come up. And then we will find some power coming and lifting us up. Next section, the blessing of uncertainty. From a spiritual point of view, it is good to remain amidst great uncertainty. It is often good if everything you relied upon is taken away from you and you are left without any worldly support. It is good if all old values, friendships and attachments are broken and you find that all you had clung to disappearing into the blue. It is good that all forms of external consolation, all hopes in other people crumble, for then you will be forced to turn to the divine, who alone is our eternal and only true friend and guide. This experience is very painful, but for many people it is very necessary. Otherwise, they forget God and their own spiritual destiny. You do not know anything about your own future. You cannot rely on perishable things, but that is what people do. 1 minute, please. The experience is very painful, but for many people it is very necessary. Otherwise, they forget God and their own spiritual destiny. You do not know anything about your own future. You cannot rely on perishable things, but that is what people do. Sometimes the treatment is more painful than the disease, but one has to undergo it. The stronger the disease, the stronger must be the treatment. And in the West, this disease of woman and gold has become most virulent, so it requires strong injections and medicines. In the case of every disease, there is a curative crisis, and this is a step leading to perfect cure. Sometimes I pray to the Lord to send the devotees misery and trials, to make them suffer and pass through hardships, so that they may come to their senses. Maya is so powerful that people forget all their past sufferings and just go on in their old ways. Something is needed to remind them constantly of the divine. All suffering is for our training. Our instincts are to be controlled and burnt in the fire of spiritual striving. When the iron rod has become crooked, it needs some hammering. Sometimes in our egotism, we forget that we are delicately poised in between the hammer and the anvil, and so when the hammer falls, we suddenly wince and exclaim, "Oh, what has befallen me? In the first place, who asked you to get in there?" Suffering need not be on the material plane alone. In the case of spiritual aspirants, dry periods are common when they don't feel the original spiritual fervor. When they find themselves in the dark night, the experience can be as painful as the sufferings of a worldly man. We'll stop here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.